Hey guys, Brixenta here, and today we're going to talk about Scotland. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I'm back in town now, but I just got back from Scotland a few days ago, and I got back and it snowed. It is very beautiful, but everything looks so different. Every season changes, every season different things happens, nothing lasts forever. So if you're in a good season, enjoy the season, and if you're in a bad season, rest knowing that that season is not going to last forever. Now let's talk about Scotland. Hey guys, so I've got some stories from Scotland to tell you, and there's quite a lot of them. So this is probably going to be more than one video, but the purpose of this is for those of you who are new followers and those of you who are old followers, to inspire you to pursue your dreams. Going to Scotland has been a dream of mine for a couple of years now, and getting to go was such a magical experience. I loved it. It got off to a rough start, but it was an amazing trip overall, and I felt so at home there. I absolutely loved it, and I just wanted to encourage you to follow your dreams. Sometimes you wait for opportunities to open up, and sometimes you make your own opportunities, and this was an instance where I made my own opportunity, and I do not regret it one little bit. Life is short, so go after what you want. And also, the other purpose of this is for those of you who have been following me a little while, for just to let you in on my life and what I was up to while I was in Scotland, because I know many of you were following the trip and know a little bit about it, but I haven't shared any of the stories yet. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, so here is story number one. This was November 1st was when I left. I ended up getting back into town on November 11th. So it was quite a long trip, but a couple of those days were pretty much just traveling. So I was in Scotland for about a week. So day number one, I leave in the afternoon to go to my train, but it got delayed, so I left a little later. Well, it got delayed again, so I planned on leaving a little later. This happened about probably a dozen times, and it ended up being a 3-hour delay, but finally ended up getting to Chicago. However, my flight was also delayed by 6.5 hours, and it didn't end up taking off until 4 a.m. in the morning. So because the flight was delayed, we were all stuck in the airport because, you know, the security gates and everything closes at a certain time. So do most of the restaurants and everything else. So we pretty much were stuck on benches and in the seats trying to get a little bit of shut-eye. I chose a bench. I put my blanket down. I covered up with my blanket scarf, and I used my neck pillow. But let me tell you, benches, it was a bench like this. And benches, they're hard. They're not soft. And every time you move, it kind of hurts. So I didn't get any sleep while I was at the airport. So we board the plane, and however, because it was delayed so much, they did give me a voucher for meals while I was there. The only problem was everything was about to close, so by the time I actually got the meal, I had very little to choose from, and it wasn't very good at all. However, it was free, so I was really, really hungry, so I was very thankful to even have a meal. So this isn't me complaining, this is just me letting you know what happened. And so I get on the plane, and you know, everybody's all scrunched in there, and I try to sleep, and I sleep. I didn't sleep at all. I think I slept maybe a total of 10 minutes the entire night before we boarded the plane. It wasn't very much. And then on the plane, you know, I tried to sleep most of the flight, and I had eaten so much because I was so hungry the evening before that even by the time, it was like 6 hours later or something, by the time the mealtime came around, I was like, no, I don't want it, thank you anyway. And she was kind of like, are you sure? Not even the dessert tray? And I was like, no, not even the dessert tray. All I wanted was sleep at that point. My stomach wasn't feeling the greatest, so that wasn't great either. I think it was just because I ate too much, and I didn't realize I ate too much because I was so hungry. I was eating really fast, and so then it just all kind of just sat in there, and it was not very pleasant. Don't do that, guys. So I tried to sleep on the plane, and I slept for maybe 30 minutes at a time, 20 minutes at a time, and you know, of course, every time I would try to sleep, even with the pillow, I would wake up pretty shortly after that. So I didn't really get much sleep on the plane. It's starting to snow quite a bit, and the camera's getting wet, so I'm keeping an eye on it, sorry. So I didn't really sleep on the plane, so by the time we finally landed in Dublin, I was exhausted. And it wasn't, you know, they're pretty tight quarters on the long haul flights. They're pretty tight on the other flights as well, but not nearly as tight as the long haul flights. I was in the very center. Thankfully I had an aisle seat, but you know, there's 4 people shoved in the center of the plane. Plus the others on the the 2 seats by the windows, and then the 4 in the middle, and then another 2 by the windows. And yes, I was by the aisle, but you know, you still can't really move around even when you're by the aisle. So just sleeping on a plane, no matter what, just doesn't really work out very well. So I was exhausted by the time I hit Dublin, Ireland. And because the flight had gotten so delayed, I had no time to do anything in Ireland, which at that point I was kind of sad about, but at the same time, I didn't have the energy to do anything anyway, so it kind of didn't really matter all that much to me. I was just thankful to be almost to Glasgow. And so we sit around, wait for the plane, get on the plane, and that one I actually probably could have slept in. I think I did fall asleep for a bit, and it was only 50 minutes, so that was kind of annoying. It's like, oh, I wish I could have been able to sleep on the other plane, but, yeah. So the lesson in that is if you can afford to fly like business class even, it might be worth it just for the extra room. If not, then look up tips and whatnot to help you sleep on the plane and make it a little bit more comfortable. I did that, and I still just wasn't comfortable because it just... I don't think many people are. It just is. But it's only for a few hours, which, yes, 8 hours is a long time. Thankfully, my Uber driver, towards the end, my Uber driver had told me that I can't remember where he said actually, but he came from somewhere and his flight was 14 hours straight in a plane like that, and it was like, oh, okay. So I was very thankful that it was only 8 hours. But the reality is, it's a one-time thing. Well, not necessarily one time, but you know, you spend that few hours in the plane, you get off, and you don't have to do it again for a week or whatever, and then you don't have to do it again until whenever the next time you fly is. So it's just a temporary thing, and it's very, very, very worth it to go see Scotland. So I left on November 1st to go to Chicago, and in Chicago the flight was delayed till 4 a.m. on November 2nd. So 4 a.m. in the morning, very, very early in the morning, November 2nd, we flew in to Dublin, and from Dublin flew into Glasgow. And Glasgow, I ended up getting there around 7:30 p.m. and didn't have my suitcase. They left it in Dublin, which, you know, I wasn't super surprised. However, I was very nervous because my suitcase, I noticed on the way to Chicago, was getting a hole in it, and I didn't realize it until after I had already packed and already had it with me and couldn't do anything about it. So I was a little nervous that it got destroyed and my things were just everywhere and I didn't have anything. But that wasn't the case, thankfully. I got my suitcase, and on top of that, I had to go up and down 3 flights of windy stairs every day. Because it was on the top floor of an apartment building. The flat was on the top floor that I stayed in, and so it was really, really nice not to have to carry my suitcase up those 3 flights of stairs, only down, because the courier had to carry it all the way up the 3 flights of stairs. So I was very, very thankful, actually. And it really wasn't that big a deal that I didn't have my suitcase that first day, because the evening when I got there, by the time I got there, got through security, got checked into everything I needed to, got my Uber, got to the house. It was probably like 9 p.m. I think, and so I was just tired and hung out with the hosts. I met the host, one of the hosts. The wife had just had surgery the day before, so I didn't get to meet her. Well, I did meet her, but it was really brief because she couldn't really move around all that much that day. And, you know, just trying to heal from surgery, of course. And they had a couple of friends over. I got to meet them. They were all lovely, lovely people. And then I just went to bed, and I went to bed early because I was exhausted. And the next day I get up, and the host, the wife, because it was a husband and wife that lived in the flat and rented out the rooms, and the host's, the wife's sister was staying with her that night to help her out with all the surgery and whatnot that she had, and they were so nice. The host was very concerned about me going outside to get groceries because it was raining. It wasn't a ton, but it was raining enough that she was concerned about me, because all of my stuff was in my suitcase, so all I had was flip-flops. And she was very concerned about me going out in my flip-flops, and I thought that was so sweet of her. And her sister was super, super nice, and she had to go out to get something for her sister anyway, because, you know, she had just had surgery, so she couldn't really get out of the house. So the sister and I went out to go get that, and then she was so sweet and took me to Asda, which is a grocery store, to be able to purchase groceries. So it was just so nice, such a blessing to be able to do that with her and not have to worry about anything. So that was pretty much all I did on the first day that I was there. But the family was nice, and they have one of their friends staying with them right now, and she is also lovely. She's from England and she's going to school there. And they had, for the first few days, there was another lady renting out one of the other rooms, and she was from Germany, and she was also super nice. Everybody has been super, super nice that I encountered there. They were just such lovely people. I loved it so much. I would definitely go back. And the hosts were very, very welcoming, very warming. They had a map sitting on my bed when I got there, and and they were so helpful when I needed directions anywhere, and they had suggestions of places to go, and they were super excited to tell me about these things that they loved so much. And one of the places that I saw was actually my favorite place, and it was because the host told me about it, and that's the only reason I went, because I didn't know anything about it before. So I stayed in an Airbnb, in case I didn't already say that. And so I highly recommend staying at an Airbnb. It was an amazing experience. And if you've never stayed in an Airbnb before, there is an app that you can sign up for. But you want to make sure before you sign up that you go through and get your coupon first. I can't just look up Airbnb coupons or something like that. I can't remember exactly how, because I had already signed up and stuff. Even though I had never used the site before, I had signed up, and because I had already signed up, I didn't get the coupon because it was like $20 off or something like that. So I couldn't use that. But if you have not signed up for Airbnb yet, don't do it until you get the coupon. And yeah, so they have different ways. You can find different people. You can find somebody with no reviews, or you can find somebody with a lot of reviews, and super hosts have certain specifications they need to meet. And so I went with somebody that was a super host on purpose, and it turned out to be a really wonderful thing. And there are others, I'm sure, that probably aren't super hosts that are probably just as wonderful. But going to a foreign country by myself, I wanted somebody trustworthy. So there's my Airbnb experience and my day one experience. Let's show you some pictures now.